with Gretchen Skalka today. If it's Monday, it's Gretchen Day. And we're so excited and truly excited. Not that rah rah, get you excited, but sharing our excitement with the progression day by day in the last week. Things continue to expand in just the right ways. Friendships are being engaged in, strategic relationships, partnering. You know, there's so much going on, and it's because of you allowing yourself to be the best you can and
Yeah.
opening up and sharing and allowing people to come in and support each other. So with that, Gretchen, what's your thoughts about this
I,
thing
I
we
love
got here?
I love it, and I'm so glad that Paul is here too. I love it. I think, like we were just talking before we went live, what this does is it not only helps people. Hi, Chastity. It not only helps people support each other, but it also helps them, you know, embolden and empower each other, really, and
Hmm.
get them on a path where you could try something new, even if you don't think that you can. There are opportunities everywhere, and I love the collective community aspect that you're building here, because it's so fun. Like, there, you see, like, the people that you know, and you're getting to know so much more and better every single time. I love it. I love seeing the little live come up, and I know it's you, and I get to see, like, who do I get to meet today, or who do I get to know more about today that has come into my community? And I think that really is part of the good power of social networking in general. I mean, LinkedIn for sure. But like I was telling you before we went live, I'm streaming this every Monday when you allow me to be a guest on your show. I stream it on my YouTube, my Facebook business page, my personal page, my LinkedIn, because this is a great conversation that I really want people to be a part of, Yeah.
Hmm. Well, and the thing is we've got people who are coming every day,
Yeah.
and they're contributing every day.
Yeah.
And they're also now bringing best friends into it every day. And it's almost pre-qualifying, distilling, filtering. So the people who get here are coming through people who are already here and who already want to build together.
Yeah.
And the next step, because I look at this as a huge opportunity, I really do. I'm excited more by the possibilities and the opportunities
Yep.
than even the conversations, right?
Yeah.
And the reason is the conversations are creating these opportunities and possibilities. The message itself that we're sharing is creating messengers from the people who hear it,
Yeah.
who are getting something out of it, right?
Yep.
It's like a treat. And if the people who say, this is better than coffee, or now I schedule this. Let's just share some of these people. We've got Chastity here. Thank you so much. I know you're a regular. And, we really want to hear from everybody is what are you dealing with? What opportunities and triumphs have you accomplished? So it doesn't always have to be, you know, a bad situation I learn from. It could be a
Right.
good situation I turn great with. And that's
Yep.
really the key is turning the perspective. So thanks for being here, Chastity. Alex has been here pretty much every day lately. Good morning, beautiful souls. It's nice when people call you a beautiful soul before you even know it's coming. And that's the benefit. You get laughter, you get joy, you get all the things you're searching for, and you created it yourself instead of waiting for someone to create it for you or
Yeah.
share it with you. And it becomes a good habit. Hello
Yeah.
from Boston. I mean, we were getting people from all over the world. Spent 25 years in Boston. See, a connection just by saying, I'm from Boston. That's how
Yeah.
simple it is. And now two people have something in common they always had and never knew. What do you think about all this? This is really cool, starting out on a Monday and boom, boom, bang.
I love it. I also love that there are people from India and Texas. And just for anybody who's watching, because I noticed this last time, because I like to rewatch these. If you see my eyes go this way, it's because I'm reading the comments over here. And so there are so many really good ones that sometimes I'm listening, but I want to read too. So I just think again, it's such a great discussion. It's a great discussion that you and I are having, but also that's being had in this chat. And Christine, I love Christine. she's she's so busy. She does so much. But yeah, I in Arizona. So I think that again, That's a great thing. Like, this is a medium where you can communicate with and get to know people from every corner of the globe. Like, you really can. This morning I was on a call with five other people, and we were doing some outreach together. And they were in, I think we had Germany, we had England, we had I think we had France, but we, all, and of course the United States. So we're all over the place. That again is another part of the power of this, is just the ability to reach out to people that, you can't physically touch right now, but you can still touch them. You can still communicate with them. And I think that's really important.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's really no boundaries except for one's creativity, imagination. And I think the way we're doing it with an essence of respect and thoughtfulness and
Hmm.
support, it gets easier when everybody makes it easier on everybody to be easy. And
Yeah.
that's one comment is people like this because it's like a living room. There's no
Yeah.
pretension, there's no structure, there's no
Yeah.
prescribed talk. And Christine is great, and what's beautiful about it is her greatness is showing through just what she's saying.
Hmm.
It's not, and that's the other thing for a lot of people because they let the past determine their future. You
You
know,
know,
Go ahead.
It's so funny that you say that, because I had a thing I wrote down this morning, and that it was, if you let yourself, you can either rather let yourself be defined by your vision of the future, right? Or you will live chained to the memories of your past. So live it, and that is something that I think a lot of people, myself included, can forget sometimes. So I think that's really important, that, anything that happened before, well, it happened before, and that's great. And we can leave it there, because we can, write, create, and do from this point on. We don't have to be chained to that. I mean, if it was great, great, use that as fuel. But if not, use it as a reason, right? So I think that's really
Hmm.
important. I'm
Yeah,
reading Paul's comment.
yeah, we've got Paul. I've been speaking a lot lately. I had a really interesting experience on Friday. It was a good test from universe to practice kindness and gratitude in a frustrating situation. Paul,
Yeah.
what I love about what you just said is how you phrased it. You started with really interesting.
Yeah.
It could have been real awful. It could have been real frustrating, but you chose interesting. And there was a person I work with, a CFO, that was really one of the smartest people I ever met. And he said, never, because I would say, well, we got a problem with this, we got a problem with that. And he said, never say you have a problem, because once you say you have a problem, you're dealing with it as a problem. Say you have an opportunity to improve something,
Yeah.
right? So it's all just turning the semantics around,
Yeah. I,
right?
I, I I started doing that years ago. I mean, there are, opportunities and challenges, right? And so there are both. A challenge is something you can always rise above. A problem, it's like, well, I have to solve that, but if I don't have the tools to solve it, and then it becomes this whole big thing. I think the word, this is going to sound counterintuitive, but I think the word is problematic all by itself, right?
Hmm.
So I
Hmm.
think that it poses inherent challenges in terms of when people use it. There's this sort of emotional barrier that our mind immediately throws up as being something more complicated than it might be. And so let's look at it. If it's a challenge, if it's an opportunity, great. What can we do with that? I was just getting ready. I was talking to somebody the other day about, people who interrupt them, and how that actually can be an opportunity,
Hmm.
for people who have, maybe a work situation that's not what of their liking or of their making. Those actually are opportunities. I don't think a lot, well, I shouldn't say I don't think, I think that a lot of the clients that I've worked with, I know, have had trouble realizing that those are opportunities. They can actually lead their supervisor, their bosses, whoever, by teaching them how to lead them. That's an opportunity for them. You can create that for yourself, and that's a really important thing for a lot of people to remember. But every situation is an opportunity. Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah, and it's, everything you tell everybody, you're telling yourself and hearing it at the same time,
Yeah.
right? So if you're negative, you're hearing negative from you, and you're probably thinking some negative along with it.
Yep.
That is, I always say every action takes you closer or further away from your goal. If
Mm-hmm.
you find yourself investing in the wrong things, especially your time,
Yep.
at least identify what's causing your situation. Christy's just great. Christy came in through Kelly, who's great. I actually had a long call with Christy yesterday. You know, I go out of my way to get to know everybody, learn from everybody, because, you know, I go in knowing there's so much more I don't know, and so much more people do know, that just by having that connection and going back to your past not defining your future, your past got you to today. It
Hmm.
may not be, or it may not be what you want it to be going forward, right? And if you always wanted to be something, LinkedIn Live can give you the projection, and let the audience start shaping your direction, right? I
Hmm.
mean, it rhymes, but it's true, you know. And we've got Sirkin here. Thank you. Sirkin's been a regular. Um, Let me keep going. Oh, Kelly's here. When Kelly's here, good morning, y'all. Kelly will be back this week. We've had some great guests. Yesterday,
Yeah.
we had Sarah for the third time. On Saturday, we had, let me just check. We had Tanya, who knocked it out of the park, and Tanya's just a great lady. I mean, everybody is. And Andrea was here Friday. Kelly was here last Thursday. Jenny was here last Wednesday. Mario was here last Tuesday. Gretchen was here a week ago. And going forward, tomorrow, Jason Wilson, a new person from Columbia, has got a
Oh,
great
I know
story.
Jason. He's great. Yeah.
Yeah, he is great.
Yeah.
And then Jamie Edwards is here Wednesday.
Yep.
And
Jamie's also
Kelly's
great.
back on Thursday. And then Tara's coming back on Friday. And then Antonio Prescott, I don't know if you know him, but he's Saturday. He's got a great show. He's down in Miami, and he does a lot of broadcasting, and I've known him for years. So, you know, although everything I'm doing is focused around the people here, I still had 37,000 connections coming into this,
Right.
right? Who now are starting to connect with me. If you see Maria, she's a wonderful lady. I think she's in Florida, and she's just on the West Coast. And she's
Yeah.
into the arts, and she was a Cartier ambassador.
Is this
Lovely.
Christy?
No, this is Maria.
Okay. Yeah, because I was just saying I'm on the East Coast of South Florida. And I was just reading a comment that Christy made to Alex Ivanov. I moved here from Texas and do not miss the crazy weather there. That comment, I was like, girl, we have hurricanes here. So we have crazy weather. You know, I don't know. But yeah, but I'm on the other side of Florida from those ladies. So that's pretty cool. Another thing we all have in common. But yeah, that's so
Well, that's,
funny.
and you know, I go back because my mother had a little place in Florida, and I used to go there every year for 40 years in Palm Springs, Florida.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
it's not too far, you know, Congress, military, all that lake. It's only 4 or 5 miles from the beach, which was always cool.
Yeah.
Uh, so, anyways, Florida has a soft spot in my heart.
Yeah.
So Kelly says, drop the chains of the past. Amen. You got the key in your hand right now,
Yeah.
right? You don't need to wait for anybody or anything to decide I want to move on, you know, and I'm willing to risk something in order to probably save myself from a bigger risk. Because really, I think everybody just needs to fast forward and say, where is this leading me 60 days from now, a year from now? What could I expect?
Yeah. And I think that's a really important point because, again, we're talking about, creating the circumstances of your life that you want, right? And that's really important. But again, you have to visualize, what are your goals? Where do you want to be? And then understanding, where you are now. So then we can create, systems or plans or whatever to get us there, to get us to goal. But again, it's taking those steps. But that also fundamentally, and you know me, I'm going to go right back to mindset, goes back to your mindset, what you believe is achievable for you. And if you don't believe, again, the universe will give you exactly what you believe you deserve. It really will. And so that you have to get to that fundamental understanding of what you believe is possible for you. And if you believe that it's fundamentally possible, don't worry about resources, circumstances, or all that kind of thing. If you believe it's fundamentally possible, you will just naturally, organically begin to create the circumstances through which that comes to you. You will naturally begin to meet people, right?
Mhm.
I've sort of always had this idea, like I love talking to people. I'm a talker, sorry. I'm the girl who'll chat you up in the grocery store line. Like, I'm just going to strike up conversations. My husband and I took a trip to London many years ago. We were outside 10 Downing Street. I was talking to the guards. I know I was on the cusp of getting them to let us in. Didn't happen. But we had a great conversation. We were in The Hague. There was a huge parade. Their family was out. They have a royal family there. And we were there on that day, and it just, all these guards are around, and we're just chatting up everybody. So I'm a talker. All that being said, I'm a talker. So I've always sort of had this vision of myself talking to a lot of people. Well, that's great, but video is like the best way to do that. And that was something I was never going to allow happen. But then over time, like, I've had that vision, like, I believe it was possible, but I didn't know how. I didn't know what the mechanism was. Once I realized what the mechanism was, I began to meet people. I met you on a live that I was on. I'd been
Mhm.
watching them. I think they were great. And things just started naturally happening that came into my life. It will happen. So go back to what you believe is possible for you. Again, don't exclude that possibility because of resources, circumstances, or any of that kind of stuff. All that can happen. That's just semantics. What do you believe is possible for you? And visualize that. Keep that in your head. Write it down. Write down your goals. I
Mhm.
think I read a statistic that something like people who write down their goals are upwards of 80% more likely to achieve them than people who just keep them in their heads and don't write them down. Write them down. If you believe it's possible for yourself, write down your goal and watch it. And a year from now, look at that lit, like, see where you are. You will be so impressed with yourself. Deservedly so.
No, it makes perfect sense because I experienced that yesterday. I've been putting this collaboration group thing together,
Yeah.
and I've been making little, notes, little outline, but I finally started to formalize it. And I got so excited and impressed by it after seeing what it looked like and what it could do. And then I kept adding to it.
Yeah.
And I think the two like takeaways for sure, the big takeaways this morning is don't let your past define your future.
Yeah.
Also, don't let anybody else define you is a second good tip.
Yeah.
And the third thing is if you can't find what you need in yourself, stop pushing.
Yeah.
Put a hand out for someone to help you.
Yeah.
So don't try to be 100% self-reliant, sufficient, because it doesn't work. It makes things smaller. It
Yeah.
restricts things. When you accept other people, and here's the other thing me and Gretchen were talking about, focus on core competency, what you do best, what you're passionate about, and then connect with other people for the pieces that they're passionate about, and you'll bring passion to everything all around from passionate people doing passionate things.
Yeah.
Uh, we've got so many comments. Life can have bumps, Linda Coleman says, but chin up and look forward with lessons learned and be prepared as life moves forward. You ever go to a batting cage? You know, and every new ball is a new opportunity, right? They keep throwing balls at you. Eventually you might hit one or two, but it's always a chance when it's coming up. You just got to make sure more things show up for you
Yeah.
instead of waiting to have to show up for something that isn't there yet and may never come.
But also recognize when they do show up, right? Because, you can have, we talked about this last week, these micro wins. You're on your way to the big goal, but you're hitting other goals along the way. So recognize when they're happening for you. If you have a vision that you want to, one day own your own business, and you have your freelance, but you're working for somebody else. This is my story, right? And people are coming to you. You're doing business, but you're still a freelance. You sort of de facto do on your, so those are little wins on your way to the big one. Now that's a very benign example, but there are great ways of doing this, and you have to recognize and honor those achievements all along the way. Because again, that's one of the reasons why people quit before they get to their goal, is because they don't think they've made progress, because they're tracking to the big goal instead of realizing I'm taking steps that are getting me to my
Mhm.
goal all along the way. And it's really, really fundamentally very important for everybody to do. Yeah. And that's true, Paul. One conversation can absolutely change your life. Yeah.
Well, I can tell you this, I can validate that because I had a few conversations that when I was having them, I had no idea where they were going to lead with people I had never met before. And that's really on the sidebar here is all these people who found a common interest like you did to come to this show, listen to me and Gretchen, but more importantly, interact with you. And
Yeah.
then more importantly, get deeper, because the deeper you get into this, the richer it gets, the
Yeah.
more impactful it is. It gets
Yeah.
heartfelt. And all of a sudden your thinking mind goes to bed for a while and lets the real you inside. I mean, Andrea said it best, like the child in herself started coming out again, right? People
Yeah.
can be more innocent if they can get more trusting. You know, they can
Exactly. Yeah.
share more. So, anyways, this is true, but I'll share my one conversation, and maybe some people know it. I was involved in the 80s and 90s in some really cool groups, and some were just out of this world. One was just all the chairmans of all the home center industry. So, the
Mm,
chairman of Home Depot, Georgia Pacific, Lowe's, and it was final dinner at the Mansion of Turtle Creek, which was a nice restaurant in town. And we were at Las Colinas, if you know that area. But anyways, at the very end of the meal, and I got a lot done, but I was a little disappointed. This guy comes who's sitting next to me and elbows me and asks me, am I going to eat my cheesecake? And I didn't even look. I said, no, never touched it. Be my guest. I didn't even look at the guy. And I said, by the way, I got a glass of wine here, never touched, be my guest. So he started striking up a conversation. And he knew my company, and he saw I was in Denver, and his grandkids and his daughter was there, and he was going there. So I said, I heard about your company, and I know you. I got a week. It'd be nice to see what you're doing. And I looked, he's a lumberyard guy. And I said, sure, love to show you around. And anyways, the guy turned out to be a billionaire and became my partner for 12 years, or me, his partner.
wow.
And if I wouldn't have given that cheesecake, I would have never known what was ahead of me.
Yep.
But I knew, I was confident I could rise to any occasion if it came to me.
Mm-hmm.
So really, by having a peaceful mind and a positive attitude and a sharing attitude, I was happy to give him the cheesecake. So it
Mm-hmm.
just shows you, Paul, I want to get too deep into it, how being more open, more sharing,
Yeah.
more generous. I mean, Mario last week talked about giving somebody a hug when he went into a store who was having a hard day.
Yeah.
And it changed the person's whole perspective.
Yep.
So what do you think? What was your conversation, Gretchen, that helped you move to a different or better place?
It's weird because I don't think I've had just one. I've had several, and I don't think it's I don't make it a secret. I talk about it, but this morning I had a conversation with another coach that I'm doing a grant-funded program, the Shazad Shamin Saboteur program with, and we were talking about things that crystallize things for you, and I just kind of was like, well, it wasn't one thing. It was a series of, what's the book, Very Bad, Terrible, Unfortunate Incidents from 2014 to 2018. And there were some conversations all along the way there that really helped me understand, you have great opportunities in front of you, but you have to be able to see them when they're happening, even in the worst of things. And I will be honest, every single one of those events that happened during those years were very, very, very terrible events. But you have the opportunity to learn more about yourself, become more of what you're meant to be there for other people, see yourself through them, right? And
Mm-hmm.
understand what your real impact can be, where you can really help another person. But again, for me, I think one of the bigger conversations was, and it was actually with my mom when she was in the hospital before she passed away. And it's really seeing the world beyond yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it can be very difficult when you're in the middle of something to change your perspective and see it from a different angle. But I think it's very, very important. And it's interesting because when Tanya Bugby was on your show on Saturday, I think she also mentioned she does this thing about perspective with windows. It's just a very good, quick
Mm-hmm.
visualization. Go look out one of your front windows in your house. See what you see. Now go to the side window, see what you see. Go to the back window, see what you see. You're not going to see the same things because your perspective is different, right? So when you look with the old saying, when you look at things differently, what you look at changes, right? So think
Mm-hmm.
about it from that perspective. The idea of what has already happened doesn't define you. Everything that you do because of, in spite of, whatever, that is what you are. Your personality, what your makeup is, what you believe to be true about yourself. And so those things are really important. But yeah, for me, there have been a few conversations that have really, really been very revelatory for me. Yeah, I could go on. I could go
Well,
on.
and that's the nice thing is everybody has more to share, even when they're sharing,
Yeah.
and they even have more when they're not sharing. And I think I tell everybody don't share anything you don't want to. You're not obligated to. You can edit whatever you want, whatever you're comfortable, because that's a beginning.
Yeah.
And what I see about this show is everything is a new beginning from an old ending. And it's when do you start your new chapter and who do you start it with? I mean, design your dream team. You can get it now because of the access to so many people
Yeah.
and this messaging platform. LinkedIn Live announces you to their own public. I had a cousin who called me who's about 80 and he's in Detroit, a very successful doctor. And he saw one of these, but he says, every day I see you're going live.
Yep.
So you have to realize that 37,000 people see my name, whether they do anything or not. And you're going to get top of mind awareness, and someone's going to be thinking they're doing a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
And that whole, like the ticker says, introduce yourself and be known before you're needed. Start building top of mind awareness.
Yep.
You're not there yet. I'm not there. And that's the beauty. There's so much there yet to be there. And we could be the ones who create it. Don't wait in line.
Yeah.
Make your own line and be the first one in it.
Yeah.
What do you think, Gretchen?
I think that's a really good thing. And I love that, be known before you're needed, but also, we're talking about tracking to your goal. The thing with that is that I think a lot of people can forget, but it's a really good thing to remember is that have your goal and write it down, but have your goal. But remember, when you're watching all the progress you're making all along, you're going to naturally make these little pivots, these little changes, these little course corrections. And that ultimate goal, you may find that it's different when you get there because you've made these little subtle corrections along the way as you've refined what's really important to you based on your experience. And you're acknowledging that, you're present to it. That is really important because that's one of those things that you just said. When you get there, there's never there. It's never all done. That's the beauty of it, is that it can constantly be changing and you can redefine things. You're not locked into one linear path in life. That actually stops a lot of people from achieving happiness, is they think I've got to walk this path that's been laid out before me. I've got to go to school and then go to university and then get a job and da da da. And it's like, whose rules are these? You do? Says who? What happens if you don't? Does the life police come and put you in life jail? No, you get to decide this for yourself. And so again, if that's your goal, great. And then as you go along that path that you are creating for yourself, you are allowed to change your mind or make little pivots or make little course corrections. And you are allowed to have your goals naturally evolve and shift into what they're meant to be for you. It's really important.
Yeah, and that's why hearing this reawakens what's already there in you, knowing this,
Yeah.
right? And when someone trips the trigger, right, and now you have it, you can't unring a bell.
Yeah.
And something will keep telling you, hey, why don't you take the move? And here's the thing, you're with people who are where you are, taking the move,
Yeah.
being willing to help you. I can tell you the common string from every co-host is I wouldn't be doing this if you wouldn't have brought me on your show. I mean, Mario said his whole life he was intimidated by video. never ever thought he could do it and never wanted to do it.
Yeah.
But with seeing how it's done and then saying, maybe I can do what Gretchen's doing or Don's doing, and then have someone say, come on and just sit there, right? If you never said nothing, you
Yeah.
already are there and you're showing who you are.
Yeah.
And then if you decide, hey, this is just a conversation, and the only difference between me and the audience is the camera's on me, right? But
Yeah.
I get a
Yeah.
chance to say things, add things. And I think more and more people are starting to realize the water's really fine.
Yeah.
And you can jump in and you can go back to the beach, but I wouldn't know why, because there's no water there. There's no fun that you can have in the water. So, and I think people are hearing this, and if you hear it every day and you're hearing more of this type of talk than what you hear every day because you live every day with other talk, back my meeting with Switch to Tomorrow, yay. Well, that's great because, it's the energy, even for the people who don't talk, just their presence, just putting their name on the board,
Yeah.
is getting known. And ask yourself, why are you on LinkedIn, a social network, if you don't want to be seen and heard?
I think that goes to Paul's question that he had about, objections that you experienced in your business that turned out to be your own preconceived notions.
Yeah, well, when you put yourself last, you don't take things too personally, right? And when I was in business, and I had a big business, 72 employees under one roof, 42,000 square foot facility.
Wow.
I was loaded for bear, right? But I had to keep launching, ready or not, we're going, right? And then you got to figure how to catch up. But because in a business, you got deadlines, you got bills, you got obligations. You can't think what you like. You don't have that luxury in most cases. You got to figure what works. And then it was always customer first, employee second, management third. It was always bottom up because that's who paid the bills. That's who made everything happen. And the people on the top created this. They should be the last to be served. So, and that was different. And through my whole career, I did things that were counterintuitive to the majority of people. And I did really different things that people couldn't understand. I'll tell you one quick thing that probably a lot of women will like out there. I started a business with nothing. Me and my wife came out here, got married in Las Vegas on the way, borrowed 10 grand on a Buick. And by the time a month went by, we didn't have any customers and we were out of money. So anyways, fast forward, found a friend, provided me some support, and we took off. And this was in the 80s. And in the 80s, in newspaper ads, there were actually ads just for women. And there were ads just for men's sections, right? And women were totally underpaid and underappreciated. So me and my wife decided we got no money. The only thing we can do is build with people. Mm-hmm. So I decided, all things equal, we're going to get all women working here. And I actually hired a 21-year-old girl, Shelly Hillen, who became our warehouse manager. And she was like 90 pounds. And, she just took over. And then my wife was the hub. She loved recognition, getting the groups together. We took off, and not only did I hire them, I overpaid them. No, really, I paid premiums, and we never had a retention issue, never had a shrinkage issue, and it was just amazing by just taking an inequity that was so glaring to really put it together in a way that nobody was. Mm-hmm. And there was so much respect and appreciation for the opportunity, that they never thought they'd get, or they never thought they'd get in an environment that empowered them. So that was just another thing. So do things that you believe in. Don't worry what everybody else is saying, because if they're not doing it, they got nothing to talk about. Right, Gretchen?
Well, yeah. And I think to Paul's point too, an objection that I had in opening my business that I didn't even realize that I had until I was working with a business coach. um, was I was telling myself I'm not a business owner. Who am I to own a business? I'm not a business owner. I'm a yeah, I'm a coach. I'm a former journalist. I'm a career marketer, but I'm not a business person. So
Mhm.
that sort of objection that I was putting in front of me was a huge one when you think about the fact that I opened a business. And so if you identify as not a business owner, it's going to be a real challenge for you when it comes to making business decisions and informed ones. So I think that was a big one, Paul, for me that I didn't realize. But working with, and her name is Sarah Sabin, and working with her really helped me sort of reframe. Oh, hang on. I'm not sure what happened with my camera. Oh, now we're back. No, we're not. That's weird. Anyway, power of the internet. But working with her really did help me reframe that. And so that's a really good question. I'm glad that you brought that up. Yeah. That was so weird. I don't know why my camera did that, but oh well.
That's why you got to be humble on these things, because you never know when technology is going to toss you a curveball.
Yep.
And yeah, whether, today, no matter who signs your check, you're working for yourself, right?
Yeah.
Because there is no job security like there used to be. There's no loyalty. The people are moving around. So when you get relationships, they're disrupted by something else. I always look at a job as just being just over broke. That's how I always defined a job. And
Mm.
that's why I always paid a premium. They say cheap labor is the most expensive thing a business can have, right? And you should never make money off of the people who you're trying to make money with. They don't have enough and they need everything,
Yeah.
you know? And if you make people's life easier at home, they have more support and they're more motivated to help you, right? If they're fighting two battles at the same time and they got all these conflicts, how good can they be around
It
other people?
Yeah, it's actually one of the driving things behind the name I came up with for the show that you helped me kind of create, which is the flight attendant. Because, you know, again, I hate the word problem like you do. I just think it has, it's problematic, right? But how can I help people, create the better situation for themselves, go after the thing that they want, the surmount a challenge or any of those kind of things, identify an opportunity. So that's where the name the plight attendant came from, is that everybody's got a plight, a situation that they want to figure out for themselves. So how can you make it better for them? Or how can you help them, like illuminate within them the way to make it better for themselves? And I think that's really important because, like you said, that really, it gets down to that human connection. And you can't do that if you're not, connecting with people. You can't. If you cannot identify with and know them, you can't help them.
Oh, so true. And you see, one thing we're doing is creating opportunities to improve one's mindset, perspective, vision. But the next thing is actually working together and applying it and helping each other in real time. I mean, we're talking and sharing in real time, shoulder to shoulder for an hour, maybe bringing one or two people's issue to the
Yeah.
group
Yeah.
and say, let's tear this apart and put it back together. Let's focus on one strategy a week, that everybody can leverage. Because I've been doing this every day for 7 months, but I've been doing LinkedIn every day for 3 years.
Yeah.
And I really haven't monetized it in any way because I wasn't ready and it wasn't ready. There were a lot of ways I could have, but it wasn't there yet. It's like you're cooking something and you taste it and it doesn't quite get there. And you got to figure out what you got to add to it. But the thing is, like I say, short term pain for long term gain is so important, to put the time in, the intensity, get it
Yeah.
done with. I was always like, any issue, I'm not waiting. I don't want it hanging over me. And it used to be with people issue. They say whoever can solve the biggest people problems can make the most money, because it's all about people, right?
Yeah.
Here's Linda. Thank you, by the way, Maria. She's a great, great gal and somebody you should connect with. And, use this opportunity. There's only so many people. Check out their profile, make a connection request. I'm sure they'll accept it. And
Hmm.
then see what value you can bring for those people in order for them to feel like it's worth continually talking and working with you. But just to make the connection is great. Uh, Ivan says, Alex says, I'm sorry, this is definitely a means to improve my mindset. Well, the answer is in you. We can maybe help it come up. And I think to empower it is to empower yourself. And again, that's what I want to do, is not get people excited, but put people in action after they get excited. So the results from their action can now drive their excitement and not their enthusiasm, because that will only be maintained if they continue to make steps. And I think the
Right.
greatest point, once you know that, hey, this is a great step because I learned from it. I didn't have
Mhm.
to earn something. There's another great step. And when you see all the steps coming together to lead you to the next level, then you want to even climb higher. There's a saying, if you're not working on the edge, you're taking up too much room, and it's a much better view from that point.
That's
And
actually,
go ahead.
yeah, there's a song called Champion of the World where they say that in the song. If you're not living on the edge, you're taking up too much room. And I think that's a really good point, is that, when you're figuring out what it is that you want to go for, go for it. Like I was saying earlier, don't let circumstance or resource or any of that stand your way. Go for it. You will figure this out. But also fundamentally, you want to understand why it is that you want to go for it, so that you don't lose your enthusiasm along the way, right? Because it goes back to there's a why there, there's a purpose there, not just a passion and excitement, but there's a purpose behind it. Why do you want to have that job, right? Is it the money? Is it the title? Is it what does that do? What does that do for you? Is that for you some freedom, right? Some security? Like why is that important to you? Because you have a family you need to support, because you have other circumstances that you need to provide for. Why is that important to you? You know, because again, these are the people that you love, and it includes you. And so you want to so drill down until you get to the real foundation of why that thing is important to you, because that's what's going to help keep you motivated, moving and progressing all along. And that's also what's going to help keep you aware of every win that you're making along the way to getting it and being successful at it. And that's what will propel you to keep going, keep going, keep going. And then your goals get bigger and bigger and bigger. And it's just, it is a real self-fulfilling prophecy. And it's really important to just do that one thing. Keep going, keep going. Yeah.
Yeah, and here's what's so beautiful about it. We talked about this in the past. Everything ripples. Everything has a domino effect.
Yeah.
And when you start getting really happy and you get so enthusiastic, everybody around you gets happier for you, and because now you're a positive influence. Now you're on your way. Now you're starting to believe again in your dreams. I mean, everybody as a kid had dreams. I know my son, he was not very tall. He thought he'd be an NBA player, and he was going to be picked fifth by the Milwaukee Bucks. I don't know how he got the Milwaukee Bucks. He was like 8 years old, and he sincerely believed in it. And my wife and him would play basketball sometimes before we go to school. And because she was so tall, he thought she was the best player in the world. The point is, he never got that tall, and he never played that. He did play basketball in high school, but ultimately he ended up taking teams to 9 national championships and winning 3 of them.
Yeah.
And it was only because he never gave up on a bigger dream. And I tell everybody, there's a door where people go in and they call themselves employees. And there's another door where people go in and they call themselves owners.
Mm-hmm.
Both doors are available to everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Someone chooses their door. And I think to the point, when you start making changes and you question the changes you're about to make because they've been there for so long and they're so comfortable being there, is ask yourself, how would this ever happen?
I will
Right?
say this too, because what you just said really reminded me of something, and it's a really good point. When people are making that decision, that go for it, right? But stay, like, keep going, keep going. Don't just go for it once. Don't let your patience run out before you've reached your goal. Because again, and I saw this somewhere else, I think Warren Buffett said it certainly isn't original to me,
Mm-hmm.
but it's that people are really quick to scuttle their own dreams and not go after the thing because it didn't happen quick enough. But they'll spend 40 years being an employee for somebody else, wishing that they weren't, wishing that they could control it, or wishing they had more of a say. Now, again, this isn't to say everybody quit your job, right? No, but you can, if you're not happy with it, you can take control of that situation. You can be the boss of creating that for yourself. I have this conversation with clients all the time. You absolutely can lead your boss in knowing how to lead you. You can create that. You absolutely can. So you can take a crummy situation that you're not happy with at a company you like or a job that you're happy with, but you may not be happy with the circumstances, and you can create the circumstance that works for you. That can be a goal, you know, absolutely, and go for that. But you can create how that looks. So, you know, again, don't let what you know what you believe is possible for you, right? Work with that, work and cultivate and grow your mindset, but also take that action. Stay with it. Do not give up. If your goal is to run your own company or to improve your relationship with your current boss, those are both worthy goals. And you can absolutely do both. Even if you don't think that person, you can get, you know, they've got that hard outer shell and you can't crack it. Yes, you can. Yes, you can. Be consistent. Yes, you can. Keep going.
Yeah, and I think that to that point, everybody can do more wherever they're at, and everybody can bring more value. And I know in my business, the people who went above and beyond helped themselves so much more.
Yeah.
Right? The people who tried to make my life easier, I felt obligated to make their life easier. So the key is who's learning on the job, who's learning for the company. You know, the company will take care of people that take care of the company, because everybody who you're working with or for has an interest in that in one way, shape, or another. But the people just enough, like here's all you're paying me, this is all you're getting. You're majoring in the minors. And how do you know what you're giving has that value? It's not real money or currency or numbers. You just assume it. So if you're going to be with someone, be all the way. And if it doesn't work, you did all the way. And you don't have to question that. And understand, you know, there were times in my business career where it was so awful, so bleak, that I did so well and it went the other way and I couldn't believe it. And I remember leaving the office every day, just crawling out of there, you know, waiting for the bell to ring so I could go home. And I felt so just beat. But I will say one thing, I've been broke but never broken. You know, and every adversity just made me stronger and more incredibly interested in never being denied. But here was the thing. I'm driving home, listening to Think and Grow Rich. I did that for a year and a half in my car.
Yeah, I love that book.
Before and after. And it was so weird. It was like a revelation. I opened a door, and both kids were like 2 and 5, and they grab a leg, and I got my dog barking, and Ann's in the kitchen cooking. And I said to myself, I'm the richest person in the world. You know? And business is transactional, but this is something. And ever since then, you had to get the lowest low to appreciate your highest high. That in both cases, you were fully giving the proper recognition or appreciation. And here's one more thing about adversity I learned. When it shows up, engage it, right? If it's going to be with you, coexist with it. You got enough to deal with it without fighting your mind with it. And the game is always between you and yourself. Maria says, people often just before the magic happens, usually probably quit would be something, or leave right before it happens. And you know yourself, you've gone to like talks with someone, and right before the person who's talking has the perfect message for the person you're with, they decide to go outside and get a phone call or do something. And it's like, geez, this was perfect for you. How did you pick that moment? You're laughing, so it must relate to you.
It reminds me actually of a scene in, was it Ocean's 11, where Brad Pitt is giving the instruction. He goes, and whatever you do, don't ever, and then he gets called away. And Matt Damon's character is like, don't ever what, but I know what you mean. It's like, everybody has that message that somebody else is meant to hear. Everybody does. So I think that's also another thing to remember is, don't quit on yourself or other people, because you never know what your story and what your experience can mean for someone else. There's a collective human spirit. We're all part of, something, the experience, right? Something that you're going through, something that because of that experience is important for somebody else to hear. And to Don's point about this whole, what he's doing with LinkedIn Live, this is a great medium to express that, to find your tribe, find the people who need to hear what you have to say, because they're out there.
Yeah, and it gives you such a competitive advantage.
Yeah.
And once you know what you're doing, that's a double competitive advantage. So the progression is a lot of people on, not many people doing anything. People doing anything not consistent. People who are consistent don't use best practices. People who don't use best practice, and it just goes on where you can fill the gap. Everything has a tank. You can fill it to the top. So if it's how's your tagging, this is optimal strategy. Here's templates. Here's time-saving things. What I launched last night, actually 2 nights ago, that's incredible, is now I'm doing not only a LinkedIn Live and a post every day, I'm doing a LinkedIn newsletter every night. So now it's going to be 7 days a week. And if you go to the newsletter, and you can go to my profile if you don't see it, I'm sharing everybody who's going to be on this week and tagging them every day. I'm sharing everybody who was on last week and tagging them. I pulled 17 comments that people have shared and put it in the newsletter and tagged them. So now all of a sudden what I'm trying to do is get everybody as much visibility from one program. And then when this is over, I'm going to tag 80 more people. And the key is, if you go all out for people with the hope that it brings tremendous value, they have to believe, because they know for sure what they've experienced, and they know what they can go back to.
Yeah.
And like I say, when you come from the dark and go to the light, it's almost impossible to go back to the dark knowing the light's right there. And the light are the people here. And what I'm trying to do is give more people time to think. Yeah. Because if we can be thought-provoking, and then you can come back with comments, we can continue to direct the message and the support for everybody. Because I'd love to see 50 people in 6 months have their own show. Part of this collaborative group is get you on and get you out. Make you a flyer, right? And have your own show, have your own voice. Every day, share what you feel, what you think. And pretty soon, those old feelings and thoughts and dreams, you're going to start saying them and not even know when you said it until it came out of your mouth, and say, wow. How many times have you said something that shocked you, and then 2 seconds later say, I could do that? I remember one time I said, I'm going to buy that business, just in a conversation with somebody. And I said, how did I come up with that? And then I said, that's a good idea. But in the beginning, I was like, wow, and that's what you need, is more wow moments, more ways to celebrate. Life is bountiful. There's abundance everywhere and everything.
Yep, it's true.
Right? And why not choose to go shopping in a buffet that's presented to you?
Yep.
Right? You already paid so many prices. Stop paying for the past, for the fear of the future. There's nothing left for the present. If half of you is one leg's in the past, one leg's fear in the future, how else can you be but anxious, frustrated? But however you got in there, you can get out of there. Gretchen?
Yeah, it's also really difficult. Actually, it's impossible to attract the thing that you want when you're giving all your attention to the thing that you don't want. And that's another reason why that negative cycle is perpetual, right? Once you get into it, if you can't get yourself out of it, then that's not just think happy thoughts. That's legit. Like, you have to get out of that, because again, you're never going to, create the circumstances through which the thing you want can arrive in your life if you are so invested in putting all of your attention on the thing that you don't want. And that's what keeps people in their present circumstance that they want to rise above. Well, it's the same one tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow, because we're waking up with the same thoughts about the thing we didn't want from yesterday. Tomorrow we do it about today. The next day we'll do it about tomorrow, and da 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 da. And that becomes the repetitive cycle of life that, once you can break out of that, change can happen. That's how that abundance and all those other things that people want are possible. But the first step has to be breaking through and out of that mindset that's holding you in a place that you don't want to be. And that's difficult.
Mm-hmm. Well, if you look at any challenging habits, I don't like using bad or good because they're kind of judgment. But if you look at any challenging habits, it's always typically addressed in support groups. Mm-hmm. Whether it's AA or something else, it's people who found they need help but can't do it themselves. Yeah. And if you are constantly infused with encouragement from this group, if this is the only encouragement you have, it's a good stepping stone. And it's taking you an hour away from something maybe wouldn't have been as productive, wouldn't have been as changing in you. For things to change, you have to change. Mm-hmm. And once you're going to make one change, you may as well make a lot of changes, right? Because, it's the time when you're excited and you can just throw out a lot of stuff that doesn't work, make yourself some room for stuff that does, build some people. Mm-hmm. I mean, this is like going to Home Depot, right? You go up and say, hey, I got 3 connections who are going to be great. I got a couple tips. I got a takeaway I'm going to use. I mean, you should go in and saying, hey, what did you catch today? Just like if you go fishing. I got 3 of these, 2 of those, and 1 of those, and had a ball. And I can't wait to go fishing again tomorrow. And pretty soon, if you find you got too much fish, you start sharing with people who need it. I used to talk to people and I say, would you like to do this? Well, it's a great opportunity. I can make a lot of money, but I got all the money I need. And I said, well, why don't you start helping someone who doesn't have any money then? Start working and donating it, right? And it's really making people think and making people better for giving. I've got so many people in my family that are helping the homeless. I mean, I got a niece that just works on peanut butter sandwiches all week. You know what I mean? Good. And passes them out. They call themselves delivery angels. And it's so fulfilling for her. Yeah. And these people, she knows she's making a difference. Yeah. Yeah. Right. And I think it's thinking the other way is doing more for everybody, hoping they see the value and hoping you can bring the value. But you see, by not monetizing too early, you're not forcing decisions before the whole meal's been served. Mm-hmm. Right? You can ask, what do you think? What do you think? What do you think? Mm-hmm. And then everybody's got some ownership because they played a little bit of a role. And now if this was good, and here's what I know for sure, whatever came from where this started, which is just getting on and doing it, to where it is now is so much more challenging than taking it to the next step, because you've got the culture, you've got the core group. Now it's a key to getting success, right? Seeing people getting speaking engagements, consulting opportunities. But what you'll see is you'll transcend from 1 to 1 or 1 to 2 to 1 to 50 to 1 to 200. Yep. Right? And that's going to be key. So I can't wait. The future's bright. You almost need sunglasses. There was once a song. And in closing, because I know it's 9:59, I want to try and get people off at the top of the hour. If there's anybody who's got anything left to say, Mike's here. Hello, sitting in the waiting room, my doctor's office. Yeah, Mike was supposed to be here a couple Fridays ago. The day before, went up a mountain and broke his ankle and had to get rescued. And then that's when Kelly and Christy took over. And Mike was messaging me to try to get somebody else to take his spot. Came on like Saturday or Sunday to listen to it. So these are pretty dedicated people who see something that, takes their mind where it wasn't going before and helping them. And this, like I say, half of these people weren't here a week ago. Every guest host came through a LinkedIn Live broadcast,
Yeah.
you know? And it only took Tara to reach out and say, I saw your LinkedIn Live. I'd like to have a call. And
Yeah.
right on that call is like, well, we should do a live. Because I know if I can do it, anybody can do it. And if you would ask me a year ago, I would have no idea. And that's why I love the idea of having no idea a year from now.
Yeah.
You know, when it's organic and it's growing beautifully, you just want to protect it.
Yep.
You know, give it room. You don't want to start intervening. And everybody now can help build this in a way that they can now do it.
Yeah.
Right? It's not building somebody else's to help them. It's building someone else's to help you learn how to build your own.
Yep.
And then helping other people build. And what if we got 5,000 people doing LinkedIn Lives? Right? And doing it together. Because part of this thing is a collaborative messaging group on LinkedIn where you can send a message to all 40 people in the group or whatever it turns out to be.
I love it.
It's also a collaborative co-promotional opportunity where you can now set up twos where now people can do LinkedIn Lives together. And I know, you know, there's so many people who are doing it. I know Christy and Kelly are working on one now, and they're going to probably be showcasing people who need opportunity like work, you know, and I'd be happy to help people theme their show as part of this. So anyways, there's a lot going on. Last word, Gretchen, you're so great to have on.
Yeah, no, I love the conversation. It is always such a robust, rich experience just to watch how people are talking to each other in the comments. And yeah, I'm just happy to be here. I love doing this show every Monday. It's so fun. Yeah.
Well, it's such a learning experience. I tell every co-host, not only are we co-hosting each other, we're co-coaching each other.
Right.
Because the things we share could have been a coaching session that was mutual.
Absolutely.
And now we're doing it in front of more people. Here's another thought I had. I mean, I just can't get rid of more thoughts. Is creating some of these collaboration groups that show under LinkedIn Live.
Yeah.
Right? To show 9 people working together, solving things. So yeah, this is starting to fold right into each other. Let me just see. Last one, Kelly. Another fabulous comment with meaningful. Thank you both. Continue to make your Monday magical. Everyone, gotta run. Thank you so much, Kelly. Kelly's been here from the beginning, comes on every week, and just amazing, just like Gretchen. I mean, just like everybody. And that's the beauty. Everybody can shine. No one has to compete. Everybody can compliment. Very interesting topic now, and thanks for having me. Thanks for being here. You know, you and everyone else drives me and Gretchen and the show. Always a good conversation. Well, you know, when you start putting always in front of something, I think that's pretty comprehensive. Brilliant, always great comment, but today has been incredibly valuable. Thanks, Donald Cohn and Gretchen Skalka. You know why? I'll tell you why. Because over the last week, I start watching more and more of these. And I just, after doing them every day and kind of being part of it every day, it's like, well, and then I got people in the family to watch it, you know, sometimes not that motivated. But they watched it, and I learned so much from what I was doing by seeing it, you know, and that's what I want to share with everybody. Watch your stuff, read your stuff.
Yeah.
You know, you'll learn from your stuff, and that's what I've done. Mohammed, wonderful conversation. Thank you. You know, there's a lot of people who could just watch it and leave, but it does take someone to thank you. And really the best thanks you can give anybody, comment and share.
Yeah.
You know, it's like you ate a nice meal, you loved it, and now it's time to figure a tip, right? And the tip is not us. The tip is to your people, your network, because when you comment and share, it opens this to them, right? Yeah. And if you want to bring value, this is a great start. So anyways, talk. Great to see everybody. See you tomorrow. Tomorrow's guest will be Jason Wilson, and you'll love Jason and then Jamie Edwards. So thanks again. Thanks, Gretchen. See you tomorrow.
Thank you. All right.
And we'll talk again.